you want an exposure to a market or an
Everything they need in one place.
Being the world's foremost authority on individuals,
Advisors and institutions. Hello and welcome to the Morningstar series, Why Should I Invest With You? I'm Emma Wall, and here with me today is Will Landers, manager of the BlackRock Latin American Trust. Hello, Will.
Hello.
So we're looking at your region and those global emerging market fund managers, your peers who have a broader remit, are skewing their funds towards Asia and away from things like Latin America and Russia. Does this mean that we should write off your region entirely?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, Latin America's had a tough tough 3 years, really, in terms of performance. But I think we're getting to the end of this cycle of bad performance, economic slowdowns, and the reforms are starting to pick up steam. Obviously, Mexico was the first one a couple of years ago, and we're finally starting to get some green shoots from that. Brazil, we're in the early stages of fixing a lot of the problems, but a lot of the tail risks have been dissipated or in the process of being dissipated. So I think we have a decent story to look at if you can take a 1, 2, 3 year view on Latin America.
I mean, one of the things that's been happening in your region over the last couple of years is almost every single country has had an election. We're having an election here very soon, and a lot of the UK equity managers are saying just ignore it, it doesn't have that much impact on the stock market. Is the same the case in emerging economies, and in particular in Latin America?
No, I think unfortunately for a fund like ours, which is based on stock picking, on bottoms-up stock picking, the top-down has had a huge impact on markets and on valuations. The Brazilian election last year was the big one. The markets rode up on the expectations of change, came down significantly after President Rousseff was reelected. But what we're seeing now with the Brazilian administration is that Minister Levy, the finance minister, is really implementing the plan that the opposition had talked about to a great degree. So I think we're starting to get some of the good things that we were hoping to get if the opposition won in Brazil. But the issue is that, can you believe that it's going to be sustainable for the 4 years? Mexico, obviously, you had a big election 3 years ago, and that had a huge impact because of all the reforms. And finally, the energy reform, which was the big one, we're going to finally start to see some of the success from that with the auction, the first auction expected in the summer in July. Big elections in Argentina later this year, but hoping for change there. Election in Peru next year, and hoping for changes there. So, unfortunately, we need to keep looking at that, but it can have a positive impact, as we saw with Mexico, and as hopefully we're going to start to see with Brazil, Argentina, Peru.
You had mentioned energy there, and I think one of the sort of big misconceptions about the region, for those who don't know too much about it, is that Latin America is just a pure energy play. I mean, how true is that, or how diversified are the markets?
Well, it depends on the country. I mean, when you look at Brazil, obviously Petrobras and everything that's going on with them has been, what's been driving the markets to a great extent. Not much to do with energy there, but obviously with investigation. When you look at Mexico and Colombia, oil represents the biggest source of revenue for the federal government. So there they've had to make adjustments. Mexico is already a bit ahead of that. Colombia made some adjustments last year on the fiscal side. They're going to probably have to make some more, and that's having a drag on that economy more than any other one. When you look at Chile, Chile is a net importer of oil, so they're actually benefiting from falling oil prices. Overall, commodities have a big impact, not just energy, but copper in Chile and Peru, iron ore for Vale in Brazil. But what we're looking at, when you look at what we're investing in, over 70% of our portfolio is invested in domestic stories. And really what we need to see, and this is where the politics come in, you need to have the stability, or inflation, the growth in the middle class for these stocks to work, and that's what we're looking for in the next several years.
And that definitely is a long-term play, because there will be volatility along the way.
Absolutely, and that was the reason why people wanted to invest in emerging markets to begin with, right? It's a young population, a growing population with growing purchasing power. That goes through their cycles. We went through a down cycle, but we think we're getting to the bottom here, and I think that if we look at the next 3 to 5 years, we'll probably have another good story to talk about.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
This is Emma Wall for Morningstar. Thank you for watching.